Hello everyone, it's good to see you guys again. I figured I would do another video because there is a topic that so many of you constantly ask me about, and it's always about free will. And this is a very touchy subject because so many people want to know about free will, but when I tell them the truth or someone who understands free will tells them the truth, we always see the same reaction. And it's understandable because even when I relearned about free will, it was hard for me as well. But for many of us do not have free will or very minimal free will. Free will is something that is earned, it is not given, and it is something that we must develop through our evolution. One of the biggest examples that I always give of free will is if you're a video gamer like me, because I love RPG games and fantasy games and all sorts of games like that. I'm playing Assassin's Creed Shadows and Final Fantasy and all different things. If you're a gamer, then you'll understand this concept. Even if not, you still might. I'm sure you've played a video game here and there, and I'm sure you can understand this. Well, with RPG games, you're controlling a character, and these characters are going on quests and meeting with people and have all these different things to do, all these little side quests to do. And you're having relationships with people and meeting people and coming and going and just living a life in the game. And that's similar to what's going on here. So with us, we are controlling the video game character. If that video game character had consciousness and was alive, it would think that it would be having free will. And thus is the same thing that's happening with us. We are that video game character because we are just a holographic projection of what our true self really is. Remember, this is just a made-up character that we've created to experience what we need to experience for our evolution and to take back to what we call the source, which is us, because we are this idea called God or whatever you want to call it, goddess, universe, source, whatever. So anyways, as I said before, free will has to be earned. So the younger the soul is, the little to no free will it has, because it's always going to be similar on autopilot, which means what that means is that most decisions, even people that are a little bit older into the adult category, and if you don't know the domes that I've told you, I've done many shows on the ages of all souls, the domes. But if we go even up until even old souls, all of us have the structure of control from our higher self, because our higher self does control a lot of what we do. The younger the soul, the less free will, the more autopilot it does. That's why younger souls buy into belief systems in society. They buy into their trauma, conditionings. They're always in survival mode. That's why everything is about money and business. And you can tell, because the younger the soul, the more it chases, the more it buys into belief systems without ever questioning anything. The older the soul, we start to break away from these. We start to realize that something's not right here. Something doesn't feel right. And we have to be able to see the illusions within all of our choices and all of our experiences and everything that's going on. And in that breaking away and the maturity that we start having, our higher self starts giving us more and more and more free will, depending on how we choose to react to our situations. So with younger souls, the more they buy into these subconscious patterns, the more trauma, the more conditioning, the more survival, the more ego. Because remember, the ego hates truth. It wants to feel in control. It wants to be able to make sure it feels secure. And that's why people with ego buy into business all the time and belief systems, because it makes them feel secure, like they're important, and it makes them feel like they're doing something with their lives. But we as older souls, ancient souls, we understand that none of this stuff that we're doing makes us who we are. And that's why the most ancient, most evolved souls are people you don't know about. They're not these social media influencers and these famous people on Gaia and all these different things, because they realize that they don't need that stuff. If it's forwarded to them by their own self, then that might be a mission that they do. But again, that's not who they are. And so in that idea, there are many experiences that people are going to be having situations with. And in those experiences will be given choices of how you're going to react to different situations. And in those moments, that's where you get free will. Are you going to choose to buy into the trauma, or are you going to choose to step away from it? Are you going to choose to buy into your fears, or are you going to step away from it? Are you going, and until you start showing your higher self that you're capable of recognizing patterns, you're capable of recognizing trauma and all these looping patterns that we're going through each and every day, we will not be given more free will. It's kind of like how a parent does with a teenager or a child. If the child is out of control and shows very immaturity, of course the parent isn't going to leave them home alone and feel responsible enough to leave the child to take care of themselves, because we can't trust it, right? And so it's the same thing with our higher self. When you show maturity, you show you're dissolving your patterns, your belief systems, you're chasing your ego, etc., then the higher self says, okay, I'm finally understanding this from the most basic conscious level. And so I'm going to give my holographic self more permissions to see what it does. And that's how free will is given. It is always... Free will does exist, but always in micro choices for most. And I know a lot of you have a hard time with that because, like I said earlier, it's one of those ideas that, well, I want to feel like I have free will. I want to feel in control of my life. But again, that is our ego talking. When you accept the fact that free will is earned and not given, and you accept the fact that it is up to you to grow out of the illusions, out of the patterns, out of the trauma, out of the fear, out of the insecurity, and grow into who you truly are, then you understand that it's not a punishment. It's nothing. It's not something that we need to be afraid of or be hurt by. Because even me, there are parts of me, especially when situations, patterns that need to come in, or life experiences that I need to go through in order for my soul to go. My mind, I become as dumb as everybody else, and I'll go into that. And then after the situation happens, I snap back to being Raina again, and I'm like, okay, that came into my life, and I needed to be blind to it so that I can go through the experience and I can understand. And so my free will was taken away in that moment. Now I'm back to being Raina, and because I've earned so much and I understand patterns, now I'm going back to my free will and choosing what I want to do and how to react. And that's important, because how we react to something tells us. I see every day people, and again, I will never judge another person, but I'm just using this as an example. But I see people every day on social media talking that they're enlightened and that they're spiritually awake and everything. They're constantly chasing their insecurities. And the moment something happens, the moment their higher self throws them a little experience and it's a little traumatic, just to see what they do, they fall apart, and they need prayers and they need help and they need all this stuff, and they're always complaining on social media, or they're always breaking down instantly and falling apart, and they have no inner strength. And their higher self is going to continue to test them like that over and over, and it may take several lifetimes until they say, wait a minute, it's my choice. I have the power. I am a God. I am the universe. I am source. I have all the power. I have superhuman abilities, and I can do anything I want. But it's in our own self-recognition. And that's where free will makes the jump. When you truly recognize yourself as a God, and you truly recognize yourself as powerful and strong and independent, and you disconnect from all this society and chasing, and you no longer need to be the power couple or the business person or the social media influencer with all the likes, and you don't base your value on how many friends you have, and you walk away from everything. That's when your higher self says, all right, that version of me gets it, and now I'm going to allow it to do what it needs to do. And let me tell you something, people. It is a wonderful feeling. That doesn't excuse you, and there will be always points where you will have no free will, because in your blueprint you wrote certain things that you must experience. And even in my blueprint, there are certain things that I'm going to go through and continue to go through that I must experience. And when those moments happen, yes, all my wisdom, everything that happens is just going to shut down, and I'm just going to be like, what is going on? And I'm going to go through the experience, and then when I pop out of it, I'm going to realize, okay, what can I learn from this? How can I grow? What's the information that I need to process to be able to evolve? So I hope that clarifies free will. And I hope that you have an open mind to this, because it is a beautiful thing once we truly accept it. And for those of you who are watching this video, if you're struggling, notice your patterns. If you're chasing business, if you're chasing money and status and family and belief systems and your insecurities and your fears, and you're not making choices in your life, and you're always turning it up to a universe or a god or goddess or some higher power to make your choice for you, you have no free will or very little. And until you walk away from those ideas, you're always going to stay stuck in these loops. All right, everybody. It was great to see you. Hope to see you soon, and have a wonderful week.